going to use YouTube, share the link. I maybe need to put my Google account in, but they don't have a Google account. What was wrong with the other one? I got it up working, said he's live now. I had it up. When you went on your Facebook, I did it. And never got you on.
Right, I'll do it again then. Right,
I'm going to delete all these.
Oh, there's somebody joined. So there's Jas. Hi there, Jas. Thanks for joining. I've had a little bit of issues. I thought I would be able to just do a straight Facebook Live into the group, but it's not happened. If you could let me know if you can hear me okay, and if you can hear the synth okay, I'd appreciate that. So it's just the initialized patch just now. I could actually, this is probably better. I can afford to actually get it a little bit louder. So I've only got Jam joining. There's some more people joining. I had a bit of a technical issue. I thought I would be able to just go onto our Ultimate Korg Wavestate page and just go live, but it doesn't seem to work like that. If you could let me know in the comments if you can hear me and you can hear the synth okay. Just the initialized patch just now. Great, Scott. Thanks so much for that. Okay, I'm just going to wait and see if a few more people join, and then I'll get started. What I plan to do is sort of great stuff. Thanks, Scott. What I plan to do is I plan to go through the kind of processes I go through when I design patches on this wonderful little synth here. And I hope it's helpful to people. If I could get a few more people joining, I'll make a start. It's three people. I'll give it 2 or 3 minutes. I'm a little chasing my tail here because that Facebook thing, I didn't expect that. I expected just to be able to go live in the group, and it wanted me to create a room. And then I created a room, and then I could see other people's faces and their cameras and hear their microphones. Okay, we've got 5 people now, so I'll give it to 2 more minutes to 12 minutes past, and we'll get started. Okay, folks, I think we'll just go ahead and make a start. I'm actually losing people now. So we've got 3 people online, now 4. So hopefully this will be of some help to you. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how I go about building what I call a virtual oscillator on the Wavestate. Okay. It's not like an oscillator on a virtual analog synth, but it sort of replicates that in some way, and then you can use that to build various patches. Okay, so I'm going to start with the famous init patch, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to change the endpoint to 1, so I've just got one single sample just now. Okay, so as beautiful as sine waves are, it can be a bit boring. So I'm going to go into my samples and find something more interesting than a sine wave. So I'll start with a pulse. Anything that says A2600 beside it is usually a good start. So I'm going to start with pulse 30 A2600. And at this point, you can hear the sound crossfading because the loop's repeating and repeating. So for these sort of building blocks to make sort of virtual analog sounds, I usually go into the timing lane. I reduce it to just a single step and then a page along, and I usually start with a step duration of about 0.2 seconds. So I get roughly 5 steps within a second. And the crossfade, I'm going to keep it as close to 0.2 as I can. If you put it too high, weird stuff starts happening. So now you can hear that this ARC 2600 sample is looping about. So to try and make it a bit smoother, I'm going to change the fade in to logarithmic and the fade out to logarithmic. Okay, and you can still hear a bit of looping and crossfading, but that's okay. You'll see when we work on this that will not matter much. We can make it quite smooth. Now, right now, we've got one sample, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find some samples that are pulse wave that are similar but different. Okay, so in step 2, if I hold enter and press the step, it's back to that saw chroma. But if I change step 2 to pulse, you don't want to wind these things too fast. So if I go to pulse, I had a pulse 30% waveform on an ARC 2600 sample. I'm going to put the Prophet 5 pulse wave next. So in step 1, we've got the ARC 2600. In step 2, we have got the Prophet 5. And to be fair, it's a very subtle difference, right? And I want it to be very subtle, the difference. I don't want sort of spiky transitions. I want it to be quite sort of smooth and just subtle variation through the sound. So next, I'm going to need to add some steps to the end. So I'm going to add an extra 2 steps to the end of this sample lane. And I'm going to look for samples that I think will blend well with that Prophet 5. So that one sounds like it'll blend. Let's hear the one before, and then hear this one. Okay, so it's subtle differences, and we're going to have a slight bit of pulse modulations, pulse width modulation, because I'm using 35% pulse waves and 30%. So I'll put the Oberheim one into step 4. Okay. So now if I take it off of single step mode, and if I go to the sample lane and make a loop from step 1 to 4, when I play a key, it's going to scan through those 4 waveforms. And create nice movement in the sound. Now what I can also do is I can change the loop mode so it goes forward and back and forward and back. And I think for this particular example, this will sound good. Right, okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my wave sequencer to add in some subtle pitch drift into that, okay? Because we're trying to get it away from this static digital sound. So if I go to the pitch lane, and I'm going to, first of all, add steps to end. So I'm going to add 14 steps to the end so that all 16 steps in front of us here are lit up. So if I hit enter to continue, and if I go from and set a loop from 1 to 16. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press in step 1, and step 2, I'm going to slightly detune step 2 just by 1 cent down. Step 3, 1 step up. Step 4, 2 steps down. Step 5, 2 cents up. Sorry, not steps, cents. Then 3 cents down, 3 up, 4 down, 4 up, 5 down, 5 up, 6 down, 6 up, 7 down, 7 up, and the last step, I'll just set that to 8 up. Now, when I play now, you'll hear the pitch drifting. Now, the thing is, an analog synth wouldn't drift in a uniformed order like that. So the way I get round about that is if I now go for my pitch lane and I press shift and random order, the pitch variations are going to be randomized. It's not going to be a uniform pitch drift, and it'll sound a lot more natural. So if I play a chord or something, okay. Now, just listening to that, I'm finding once we get up to sort of step 14, 15, and 16, where it's more than 7 cents detuned, I'm finding it probably a bit too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this back to step A13 and play random pitches between 1 and 13. It's just very subtle. Okay, now this is nowhere near a patch yet, but this is a building block that I can then take this and I can go and make a pad sound, or I can take it and make a lead sound or bass or whatever. Now, just before I save this, I'll show you one. I'll show you this. So if I go into my timing lane and I set my step, because I'm only using one step of my timing lane, if I set it to gate, it will just play the first sample and it'll not go down the timing lane or change pitch or anything. So you hear, if I play that like that, it's very static sounding, very sterile. So put it back to note, okay, and if I go into the sample lane, there's a lot more movement there in the sound. It already sounds a lot nicer. Now, what I'm going to do is, at this point, I'm going to save that, because that's going to be a template to create a lot of other sounds. So I'm going to hit write. I don't want to save the performance, but I want to save the program. And I'm going to call it MB. By the way, see this? I absolutely hate it on every synth, not just the Wavestate. It's like using one of those 90s Nokia phones. Okay. So I'll just call it MB tutorial oscillator. Okay. So O S C for oscillator. Right, and then I'll hit write, and I need to shift right because it'll not let me overwrite. Somebody said Simple Minds. Yeah, well, Simple Minds are Scottish like me, Paul. Okay, so I'm hitting enter and save it. Now, as I said, this is not a patch. This is a building block to make patches. Like turning up an oscillator on a virtual analog synth. Right, I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to transform this template I've made into a pad type sound. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the amp envelope, and I'm just going to add a little bit of attack on it to it. And that's the wrong knob I'm turning. I'm going to add about a second of release. Yep. Clanger note there. Right, so already just that simple step, adding a little bit of attack on your amp envelope and adding some release, has already made this a lot more pad-like sounding. Okay, so it's very bright just now, so the next obvious thing to look at is our filter and our filter envelope. So if I go to the filter cutoff, I'll pull it down quite low just now, so you'll hardly hear that, and I'm going to add some filter envelope, about 40 on the filter envelope. Okay, so I'm going to have a look at my filter envelope. I'll start with the attack about a second. Obviously, these steps, you would do this to taste. Okay, so Okay, so it's starting to sound quite nice. Let me listen to that again. So a little bit too dull, I think. Bring the cut off up a little bit. Right, and right now you'll hear it's cutting off my release, so I'll need to add some release to the filter envelope. Okay, and it's not the same time as your amplitude envelope, so you need to kind of muck about with it until you get something slightly longer in the filter envelope. Okay, so now if I play, okay, so you can hear that starting to sound like a virtual analog pad sound. I'm going to see what the resonance sounds like. In fact, before I do the resonance, let's try the gain set to high on the filter. Turn it back to normal. Not an awful lot of difference. A little bit of difference. I'll keep the gain at high, and I'm going to look at the resonance. Right, so too high makes it too nasally. So I think a little bit of resonance. So it's starting to sound quite nice. I'm going to pull the resonance down just a little bit. Just a tick of resonance. So that's it off, and then just a little bit. About 3%. Sounding very Blade Runner. Yes, Gary. I'm no different from the majority of synth dudes. We're all obsessed with Blade Runner. Okay. So it's getting there. I think it could maybe be a little bit brighter. That's all up the filter envelope amount. That's too much. Too much. Too much. Too much. Too much. Yeah, that's starting to sound quite nice. So that's a basic pad sound, and I'm going to show you next a couple of the things I would do personally, right? Now, just to be clear, I'm not coming on here saying that I'm God almighty sound designer or anything like that. Everybody's got their different ways of working. I'm just showing you the kind of things I would personally do. It's up to yourself how you like to sound design, okay? So something I quite like to do is I quite like to put a little bit of LFO modulation on the resonance. So a very subtle sort of shimmer, and I'll show you how to create a modulation path now. So it's a good thing to do just now because it's showing. So if I hit mod and plus, it says add new modulation, move a target knob, or press enter. So I want to modulate my filter resonance, and the source, I'm going to use the amplitude LFO because I don't plan to use any LFO on the main level. So if I hit enter, and what I'll do just now is I'll ramp this up quite high so that I can adjust my speed of my envelope. So I'll put it up to about 25%. It won't be as high as that just now, but just so that it's really obvious. So you can hear that resonance coming in and out. So I'm going to use it like that and judge my speed. I'll just use a triangle wave just now. Okay, so that speed, about 4.1 hertz, sounds quite good to me. It's far too much, so I'm going to click back in mod, and I'm going to take this down to maybe about 4 or 5%, maybe not even that. Okay, so that is, I'll leave it at 5%. Is adding some movement to the sound. What else do I normally do with pad sounds? I usually have a bit of a pitch envelope at the start. Okay, and how I do that is hit pitch envelope. I don't want any attack. The sustain goes to 0 because I want it to resolve to the actual pitches I'm playing. And if I really exaggerate just now what happens. So I don't want cats. So what I usually do with a box standard pad sound is I set the envelope amount to -2 semitones. So it's a bit like a guitar pitch bend or something. Now obviously that's quite long. It's a lot more subtle than that. So now what I can do is I can adjust my decay amount to something reasonable. So try about 0.08 seconds. Try a little bit longer. So that gives us quite a subtle but a nice sort of swoosh in going along with our filter envelope and stuff. Okay, right, now here's something I quite like doing as well, and you might have noticed this if you've ever came across any of my sound designs. I quite like being able to control this pitch decay amount with one of the mod knobs. So I'll show you how we do that. We hit mod plus, and I want to modulate the pitch envelope decay. So wiggle about the decay, and I'll control it using the shape knob. And what we'll do is put it at about times by 40 just now and see how that sounds. Okay. Now, if I go back to performance, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to change this little setting down the bottom so that the knob only moves in a positive direction. Okay. Well, hi, Tom. I see you've just stumbled across this. Well, I hope this is of help to you, Tom. And by the way, thanks, Tom, for purchasing my patches and all your lovely comments on YouTube. It's really appreciated. Right, so now when I play this, I can then turn up this knob. So that's something I quite like doing with pad sounds, and you've probably noticed that if you've ever watched any of my videos for my preset packs. Right, okay, another thing I quite like doing is, and this is a sort of throwback to my dance music production days, is I quite like adding a bit of filter LFO but tempo synced. So I'll set it as an 8th note, and I'll so hit filter, tempo sync, and select your note, a quaver. Sometimes it depends what you're doing. Something maybe like a dotted 8th note can be quite cool. Okay, but I'll keep it as a quaver just now. I might later on, I might decide, do you know what? I might have another part with filter LFO, another layer with a different filter LFO, doing an 8th note, and another layer with a dotted 8th. Yeah, yes. So when you, Dwayne, when you go for that dotted 8th note, it is 100% born slippy. Okay, so I'll go for an 8th note just now. Now, personally, I don't like that all the time going through my part. So what the kind of thing, I would either assign that to one of the knobs to control it, but for just now, I'll just assign that to the mod wheel. So if I take the intensity back to 0, so there's no filter modulation, and then if I hit mod plus, and if I toggle my intensity knob and it says source waiting, I just move the mod wheel, and if I put it, maybe I'll start. I have to say that's something I do find quite weird, is why it's in semitones for filter LFO. I don't know, but I'll set it to 10, see how that sounds. Okay, so that's a lot more appealing to me, because it's not just all the time going to be rattling these 8 notes. I can sort of fade it in as I please. Okay, so that's starting to sound like a nice pad sound. I'm reasonably happy with that. Bear in mind, I'm listening through headphones. I can't put the studio speakers on just now because the microphone's going to feedback, but through these headphones, that sounds okay. What I'm going to do next is add some effects onto that layer. So I'll start with the pre-effects. So if it's something like a pad that I want just to be quite smooth, usually the default setting in pre-effects, modern compressor, usually does the trick quite nice. I'll take that off, just sort of smoothies out a little bit. What I did use in some of my patches was, see if I go up, I did use the red compressor. And if you want it more sort of analog sounding, I find the red compressor. Let's see how that sounds. It's quite smooth sounding. I'll just leave it on red compressor. Right, okay. Mod effects. a lot more fun. So if I hit in the mod effects, it comes up on modern chorus to start, which I have to say is quite a nice one. I'm just going to, the filter release needs to be a little bit longer. Yeah, that's better. Okay, right. So you could have chorus, you've got vintage choruses, whatever. Let's try a modern phaser. Let's see how that sounds. That actually sounds good through my headphones. I'm going to tweak it a bit. Okay, I'm going to bring the dry wet down a bit so that it's maybe about 30% wet. Take the depth down a wee bit. It's a bit too over the top for my personal taste. Increase the speed slightly. Okay, I hope that sounds good at your end. It sounds good in my headphones. I actually quite like that. Maybe a little bit too much of the phaser. Let's take it down to about 20% wet. Right. I'm going to bring the phaser has brightened up the sound a little bit, so I'm going to bring my cut off just down slightly to try and. It's a little bit too much. Okay, so a bit of delay, and I'm just going to put my box standard favourite delay on this. I don't want to spend too much time on the effects because most people. So if I go to delay all, I actually showed this in another video. If I go to preset, I quite like the dotted high pass filter delay. Okay, and usually about 20% wet where it starts is a good starting point. And I have to say, that's something I really like about the Korg stuff. See the effects engine. You don't really need to muck about too much with effects to make your synths sound good. It's kind of instantly gratifying. So if I play that with no delay, and then I just fire on an eighth note dotted high pass delay. Pretty nice. I'm going to exaggerate it a bit and then I'll take it down to. So it's a nice delay. You don't need to mess about with it. You just slap it on and it sounds good to me. Okay, so that is me now made one layer of a performance. So what I'm going to do just now, I did already save this, but I'm going to save this program again, and this time I'll just call it MB tutorial pad, but I'll keep the original template because I might make a bass sound or something with that template to go underneath that pad. Okay, so tutorial pad, and then we'll go Shift, save as new, and enter to confirm. Okay, right, what am I going to do next? Right, this is a trick I do all the time, and it's very effective. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off layer A just now, and in layer B it's on an initial program, and I'm going to load in the program I just had in layer A. So if I go through my programs, so NB tutorial pad. So in this second layer, I've got the exact same pads sound that I had in layer A. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple of things. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to detune it ever so slightly. So if I go to Shift and Tune, and quite subtle, you need to be careful because if you wheel these wheels too fast. So I'll maybe put it up about, I'll start with 6 cents. Okay, so you'll not really hear much difference just now because the other part isn't on. Now, I could just fire them both on. Then we'll get a detuned, but I tend to do it a little bit more than just copy and detune. What I usually do is on the second layer where I've copied that part in, I usually put a different type of filter on it. So I had the Poly 6 low pass filter on layer A. I'm going to try maybe a band pass filter. So let's see, 2-pole band pass. We'll keep it simple just now. So now if I play it, so it's a bit bright, so I'm going to need to alter my cutoff and filter envelope amount to suit. Okay, so that sounds completely different now from layer A. So simply copying my program I done for layer A, putting it into layer B, changing the type of filter and detuning it slightly has made a completely different pad sound for layer B. Done. So now if I play the two together, I'm doing this off the cuff, guys. So I hope this sounds good when I layer the two together. Let's hear it. Yep, that's taking shape. Now let me just adjust this layer B. Try a little bit more resonance in the band pass one. Oh, I like the resonance on the band pass. Right, so now let's mix layer A and layer B together. So that's a huge difference from. We've got a really nice full sounding pad, which we can add some pitch envelope. Okay, so that's a little trick. What I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to save that program for layer B, and I'll just call it MB tutorial pad, and I'll put in BPF for bandpass filter. So I don't want to overwrite, so save as new, and then enter to confirm. Okay, that sounds quite decent to me. Right, so I've filled 2 layers out of 4. Now, you're probably sitting watching, the 13 of you that are watching, and thanks for hanging about. I hope this is helpful. But you're probably saying, I'm not seeing an awful lot of wave sequencing going on here. And that's fair enough, because so far I've only been using the wave sequencer to sort of create subtle variations in the sound. So somebody comment, I need to just go up there. Okay, cheers, Gary. I've only been using the wave sequencer to create subtle variations in the sound. I'm going to actually make some flowery wave sequency notes now to go along with that pad. So I'm going to turn off my pad just now. I'm back on the initial setting. I'm going to, for just now, I'm going to keep it as a sine wave for just now. I'll go on to making it sound more interesting, but first of all, I'm going to get the sort of rhythm and notes and stuff right, and then I'll worry in the actual timbres. Okay, so if I go on to timing lane for layer C, first thing I'm going to do this time is I'm going to hit shift and timing so that our timing lane this time is tempo synced. So if you were watching at the beginning, you've seen I used 0.2 seconds as a starting point. This time I'm going to use it as actually quantized timing. So just now it's set to an 8th note, which is fine. I'm going to turn the crossfade just now all the way down to 0 because I don't really want the sounds fading into each other in this. So if I hit, you can hear it repeating. Now, the tempo's a bit too fast for my liking because me in my older age, I like slow, chilled out music now. So I'm going to change the tempo to about 83 or something like that. I like slow, chilled out synth music now. 10 years ago, I would have said, don't play me any track that's below 130 BPM. But I think it's like fine wine. The older you get, you tend to appreciate more chilled out ambient electronic music. So I have it now. Okay, so I've got a timing of 8. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my pitch lane. Okay, so hit pitch lane. I'm going to add some steps to the end. I'll just add 14 in just now. I'll not necessarily use all 16 steps for different pitches. So right now, when I hit a C, it's repeating the same pitch all the time. So I'm going to go to step 2, and I'm going to transpose step 2 up 7 semitones, so a fifth. And step 3, let's go an octave, so 12 semitone. And then step 4, I'm going to go to 14 semitones, which is a ninth. And then I'll maybe go plus 19. So it's an octave and a fifth. Okay, and what I'll maybe do is I'll put the last step 5 semitones below the key I press. Okay, so I think what we'll do now is that's probably enough different pitches for this demonstration. I'll reduce the loop to A7, so it'll just play the pitchings between step 1 and 7. Actually, we'll go step A6 because okay. Right, now the next thing I'm going to show you, I think, is quite an important thing if you're doing these kind of no more ecstasy and lollipops. To be fair, Tom, I've always been a right square, and I never ever took any ecstasy or anything like that. I was always the one playing the tunes while all my friends took the ecstasy, but I was the one playing the tunes. So where was I on that? Yeah. Right, this bit's quite important. Now, the problem is, if you start playing chords with that, right, yes, it can make some quite crazy sounds, but I'm looking for something a bit more sort of polished. So playing loads of notes together in a wave sequence doesn't usually sound very good. So this is where I'm going to hit performance, and I'm going to scan through the performance pages, and where it says C voice assign, I'm going to change this to mono. So it's a monophonic sound. Now, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to change the priority to lowest note. Okay, so the wave sequence will only trigger on the lowest note that I play. Right, now, here's another point. The reason why I chose 7 semitones, which is a fifth, an octave, a ninth, an octave and a fifth down, the reason why I chose those intervals is if you stick to fifths, octaves, and ninths, your wave sequence will fit musically along with any major or minor chord, okay? And by setting to lowest note priority, as long as you stick to chords where you're playing the root note on your left hand, it's going to work. So I'm just going to turn those 2 layers on. It's just a sine wave just now, remember, okay? Right, so you can hear it sounds very nice and musical, but it's a boring old sine wave. So now let's fire into the sample lane and let's select some samples that will sound quite cool. Now, to be honest with you, I've not prepared what I'm going to pick, so I'm just going to flick through some samples. They're a bit organ sounding, some of those Prophet VS samples. I think we'll stick with sort of more samples from analog gear. Let's have a look. So I quite like that one. That's a Moog sample. Now, I could just leave it like that, but I want to go into the sample lane and add some more steps with different sounds to make it more. So if I add maybe there's a modular square wave I quite like. We'll go with a Prophet 5, so if I take it off that, so now it'll alternate between the Moog ramp wave and the Prophet 5 square wave. If I set the end to A2. Okay, we'll go with that just now. I'm going to add some more steps to the end of that sample lane. I'll add 14 just now. I probably won't use 16 steps. Okay, let's go to so the Wave Guru saw modulars, quite cool. So that's 3 different. Let's go to step 4 and we'll look for some other stuff. Maybe now I'll look for a more digital type waveform. So right, that sounds quite digital and harsh and nasty, but that'd probably be quite cool blended in amongst the wave sequence with other more analog sounding samples. Let's have a look. There's a sound from the original Wavestate. Right, let me see what those 5 sound like played in order. I see I've added the steps twice. Right, I'm still on. So that sounds quite cool. Some of the samples are in a different octave from others, but I'm going to leave it that way because it's quite cool. Right, let's now see this wave sequence sequence. Let's now randomize the order of the pitches. So if I hit pitch and then I go shift random order, okay, that sounds cool. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter some of the high end out of that. So this time, because it's really a mono sound, I'm going to go with the MS20 filter. Now, here's an important trick, and I showed you this in a video I done. So if I set up a filter, envelope, you'll hear, I'll exaggerate it, you'll hear that it's only triggering on the first note that I play, right? And that's because the filter envelope is being triggered by you pressing the key. Now, if we want the filter envelope to go on every note, what we want to do is go into our filter envelope and page along to the last page, and for the trigger source, go into generator and change it to step pulse. And what that means is, it means that your filter envelope will trigger on every step of your wave sequence. So already that sounds a lot cooler. Add a little bit of... Right, it's a bit over exaggerated, the filter in. I'm liking that. It's sort of given the vibe of like using a sort of modular type approach. Okay, but you have these random sequence generators and stuff like that. Not that I'm an expert in modular by any means, or know an awful lot about it, but it sort of gives that vibe. I actually quite like that. Right, let's play about with it a bit. Right, so what's a cool trick to do with something like that is see if we modulate the decay of our filter envelope. And I'm just going to set a little bit release on the amp. So if I play a note and so if I assign an LFO, and bear in mind, every layer on the Wavestate has got your 4 LFOs. So I've actually not used any of my LFOs yet in this patch. So I'll hit mod plus, not like that, mod plus. I'm going to target the decay of the filter envelope, and again I'll use my trusty amp envelope. Okay, and enter to continue. Now let's see. Right, that's too much. So right, let me go into the amp envelope and slow this right down. The frequency. Right, I'm going to change the offset. Okay, now we can continue doing more and more to vary this. For example, you can do things like pitch lane, and it says use shape. Okay, now that sounds a bit crazy just now, but I could set up 2 steps, and step 1 is going to be off, and step 2 I'll just keep on this crazy. In fact, know what I'll do? See, rather I'll make it just a straight. Right, now what I can do is, so that it's not happening constantly, I can take the probability of this step happening and maybe put it down to maybe about 5%, so that on average your pitch slide thing should happen 1 in every 20 steps. There we go. I think it took the full 20. I think what I'll do is I'll maybe put it to about 10%. So it's random as well. It's not a case that if you set it to 10%, it'll play 9 steps without the pitch sweep thing, and then on the 10th, by setting the probability to 10%, it's like giving it a 10% chance of happening, but it's still random. Right. Okay. Time's getting on. We've been online for over an hour. What I'm going to do is quickly fire up some effects on this. So I'll just use the default compressor setting. Let's maybe try something a bit more elaborate with the mod effects. So maybe try. So I quite like that. That preset's called Talking Modular. I'm going to just take it down maybe to about 25% dry. Right. Another thing I'm going to do while I hear it. Apologies. See, when I'm doing these kind of things, I hear things as I'm doing it, so it's not like I've got a fixed process in my head exactly what I'm going to do. But what I'm hearing is, see the timing of our sequence. It could do a bit of swing in it, so that it doesn't just sound like straight 8s all the time. So I'll put the swing on at 5%. Right, and I think I need to change the probability of step 2 in my shape lane. So I set it to 10%. It's a bit too much. Let's go with 5%, what I originally thought. Yeah. So you'll be playing away, and randomly, ever so often, you'll get a cool wee pitch slide. Now, obviously, you could add more step with different shape functions, okay? But I'm conscious that you are all taking time out your evening to watch this, so I appreciate that. So let's now fire my favourite delay onto this. So maybe try the low pass filter on this actually for the delay. Yeah, that's sounding cool. Right, let's put in layers A and B to have our pad back on, and we'll play this with the pad. So let's hear how this sounds. Okay, right, so I'm hearing just a bit too much high frequency content on that sequence. So just cool. Let's hear how that sounds. I think that'll blend better. A little bit too dull. I can also go into our volumes and I can bring layer 3 up a bit in volume. It's funny that sometimes, see, when you just make a layer, you want to get it dead loud and you think, I need to put that louder, and then you realise it actually needs to come down in volume. But it's a little bit louder than that. So remember, I set up some filter modulation for my pads on the wheel. Let's see how that sounds. Right, so what I'm going to do now is go into the filter LFO for the pads, and I'm going to try the Born Slippy timing, the 8th note, because our wave sequence is running at 8 notes. It might sound quite good if the filter modulation is sort of off on the dotted 8th note. So let's have a listen, see how that sounds. Yeah, that's cool. Right, I've got one layer left. What time is it? 7:20. Right, so what I'm going to do, the final layer. So we're back on. Oh, let me save that wave sequence. I just done that. That's something really important. See, when you've finished a layer, save it right away, because rest assured you'll change something by accident and you'll not be able to get back sounding the way you had. So save each layer as you go. It's probably one of the biggest pieces of advice I can give anybody planning on doing sound design on this machine. So MB, and I'll call it tutorial and I'll just call it tutorial sequence, tutorial SEQ. Oh, I hate typing names into synths. Right, that's it. Right, save as new. So now Now, while I'm just at it, I'm going to set a key range so that this sequence is only triggered down the bottom octave. So if I go to layer C and the high note's G9, I want to make it B3. All I do is I hit enter and B3, and now, okay, sequence is only triggered in the bottom octave. I mean, it'd probably been okay anyway, in the most part, because it's set to lowest note priority. But it means then you can play a solo pad with your right hand and take your left hand off. Right, okay. So last thing I'm going to do is, those of you that have been here from the beginning will know that we made a pulse wave template at the beginning, which I call, it's like a virtual oscillator. I'm going to go back and select that, and I'm going to make a bass sound out of that same template. Okay, so although that was quite tedious at the start, that process has allowed me to now go and make 3 layers of my 4-layer patch fairly quickly. Let me find it. Too many patches on here now. Right, MB, where is it? MB tutorial oscillator, right? So what I'm going to do now is make a bass sound out of that. Okay, so yeah, Tom, feel free. I'll leave it up. To be honest with you, I'm very skeptical of how live streams sound, but if it's not too bad, I'll leave it up. Okay, so this drifty virtual oscillator we made right at the beginning, I'm going to make this into a bass sound. It might turn out rubbish, it might turn out good. Let's see. So first thing I'm going to do is hit shift and take the octave down, maybe even down 2. To see. Okay, now I can't actually remember if I showed you this or not, but see if I go into the timing, the main page, I can alter the speed of my drift and the changing samples I had, so I can ramp it right up into like crazy mad granular effect, right? But what I'm finding, maybe for a bass sound, if the drift was a bit slower. Okay, right. That's a template to go and make a bass sound. Let's fire on, why not, MS-20 filter. Let's hit filter envelope. So that process at the beginning, very quickly, I've got a bass sound. Is that connected? Well, that's amazing. Well, thank you. I'm hoping that it helps people. Okay, my day job, I'm a school teacher, so it's natural to me to go and share my knowledge with people. It feels the right thing to do. And I'm not saying by any way, shape, or form that I know everything about this. I don't. Okay, a year ago I got the synth and it's been a journey. I've learned loads along the way. Okay, right, I quite like that bass sound. Right, let's do a kind of Chariots of Fire type bass. Filter LFO. Right, so wrong shape. So if I make it to a saw down, alter this slightly. Right, let's try 16th for the filter LFO. It's a bit crunchy. Wait a minute, I'm going to try a different filter. So the poly 6. Okay, so that's starting to sound right. Now, what I'm also going to do at this point is key range that, so hit performance, and I'll set up a keyboard split that's only in the lower octave. And I'll also set it to monophonic, that part, because I don't want to play chords with a bass note. So monophonic and low. Some comments. Okay, so Dwayne, I think your video has helped us understand that your patch creation is meticulous and time-consuming, passion and skill knowledge. Thank you for your time, Matt. I'm listening to my monitor and it sounds quite fine. Thanks, Tom. Julie Hofston, this is Pash. Thanks a lot, Julie. No, Julie, you're getting done. Right. Oh no. Women. Listen, there's loads of other women. To be fair, my channel, Angel Star Scotland, is also for my band. And to be fair, Julie's a big fan of my wife Cheryl singing, and she's coming on expecting to hear me playing a piano and hear my missus singing a heart out. so it's okay. That's better. So that's a nice bass to go underneath it. Let's compress the hell out of that bass. So let's find a preset. Try soft knee limiter. Right, okay, let's put some mod effects. Let's try a flange effect on that bass. Nice. Quite like that. And let's add some high pass delay in this as well. This bass patch is the quickest patch ever. Okay, Julie, I'm up for a laugh as much as the next fat person, but there's only one person letting themselves down. If you don't like it, you can head off. Nobody's asked anybody to be here. Okay, so let's hear how that bass sounds with the rest of the stuff. So okay, pretty good. So let me save that as tutorial bass. Okay. Shift right to save as new. So now we've got a 4-layer performance. Let's just balance out the parts. Bass a bit loud. Let's quickly go into bass is a little bit clicky. Better. Okay, so the patch is nearly finished, and thanks so much, all of you hanging up. Thanks very much, Jamras, and everybody that's leaving comments, apart from our lovely Julie, who was offensive and horrible. But who cares? She's been reported to YouTube now. It's her problem. Okay, let's go to reverb, and we'll add a reverb wash over it. So I quite like preset called Citizen Strings. Okay, now you need to watch because the reverb can get massive very quickly. So usually I only have maybe about 8, 9, 10%. Okay, right. I think what I'll do now is I'm going to write the program, sorry, the performance in. And what I'll do is before I put it onto the group for you all to download for free, what I'm going to do is I probably will tweak it slightly through my studio speakers because I'm listening with headphones and it's never ideal. And then share the patch on the group with you. So let's put in a name. So really, we've made a sort of dreamy pad sound. So we'll just call the performance tutorial pad. I'll just call it tutorial pad. I'll not get too creative with my patch names just now. So save as new. And a little bit of distortion coming in somewhere, but I think it's something to do with the feed. Cool, right, I'm just going to jump up to the computer screen so I can see and answer some of your comments. Okay. Oh. Okay. So hi Nick from Germany. That's nice. To be honest with you guys, just ignore people like Julie because, to be honest with you, she's a kid. She's a kid from one of the schools I've taught, and she's stalking me. And to be honest with you, it's no nice. Never done anything to her personally, so. Hate speech report. Hi Axel, good you joined. I'm going to leave it up so you can ask me questions about it. I hope when I put it up, it doesn't sound too bad. Okay, so folks, I'm going to call it a night at that because the Scotland game starts in 4 minutes. I'll leave the video up and I'll have a listen to the patch we've created tomorrow. Great, Axel. Let me know how you get on, and we can see how it sounds. I'll listen. I'll maybe tweak it a bit before I upload it to the group. Okay, folks, I'm going to end the stream now. Thank you for joining, and hope this was helpful to you. And I'll see you soon. Bye.